those are not powerful people in this society. We can't pretend they are, when we can't pretend that the police are equally responsive to different parts of the society.
Prosecutors are proceeding with murder charges for 26 of the 67 women on Vancouver's missing women list. But Dawn's case is not among them. The news that there was not enough of Dawn's DNA to proceed with murder charges has left Lorraine with still more questions.
Maybe my sister died there, maybe she didn't. I have to still stand up for her and find out exactly what has happened. And I'm not going to sit down anymore. And somebody has to be held responsible for her. Not just, oh, well, she's just another dead Indian woman, another woman that's passed us by unnoticed. Like, so who cares? I don't care. So I care. I love Dawn, and it's up to me and my family to stand by her and let it not be forgotten.
Dawn was last seen at Hastings in Maine. And every year on Valentine's Day, hundreds of people gather here for the annual Women's Memorial March. The march began 15 years ago with the murder of a Coast Salish woman, whose family came down here to do a cleansing ceremony at the place where her remains were found. Since then, it's become a day to remember and honor all the women who have disappeared or been murdered in this neighborhood. Marlene Trick is one of the Native women who organized the march each year.
There's so many women that are missing on the murdered and missing women's list. So many women had left boyfriends and friends and sisters and loved ones, and they had no real way to express their grief, because, you know, death is a constant thing that happens in this community. That's why the march is one way for everyone in the community to come together to grieve as a group and, you know, express their, you know, community love for all of these women. The Women's Memorial March is and has been a community effort, and the women organize the march, but the men also participate in various ways to help us. I can still remember Ernie coming into the Women's March in, I believe it was 2000, 2001, and asking people in the community if they saw his sister, and putting up posters and just asking if anyone saw her, if they could contact him. And it's just, you know, so difficult, because that's the reality for many families, that they came into this community searching for their sisters and their daughters and loved ones, you know, with no answers, absolutely no answers.
My sister's only been gone a short time, and my two sisters and I dearly loved her. I can't say how strongly I appreciate everyone coming together on February the 14th, Valentine's Day, you know, the day that we express our love for one another wherever we are in society. I'm so glad that people like Marlene and the others that have organized this event have not forgotten the women that have vanished from the streets of the downtown Eastside, haven't forgotten their need for services and support, and haven't forgotten families like mine and the many other families that have come here today.
I come here today because I have over 50 friends on the missing women's list. I come here today because I want to honor these women whose friendship with me in the 16 years that I lived down here helped me hang on and get a better life. I'm just so compelled to come here and just speak about my friendships and how they made a difference for me, and that they helped hang on to me when I wasn't hanging on to myself.
The murdered and missing women from this community were daughters, sisters, aunties, and friends. But they were also mothers, and they've left behind daughters of their own.
My name is Anne Marie Livingston, and my mother is a missing woman on the missing women's list. She's been missing approximately 13 years. I'd like to introduce my sister, Donna Lee. Thank you for having us here today, and I'd like to thank the Coast Salish for welcoming us into their territory. To come all this way with my son and my sister and her son was a big stepping stone for our family in acknowledging and honoring our mother. As daughters of a missing woman named Elsie, we now have children of our own. However, these children will never know their grandmother. She's missing. And I'd also like to point out that just because the women that haven't been found are still missing doesn't mean that they're not important.
This is a day to remember all the women in this community whose lives and deaths were largely ignored because of who they were, where they lived, and what they did to survive. Yet Dawn and the other Native women we've lost here are only a fraction of the hundreds of missing and murdered Native women across Canada. Not all of these women were addicted, or worked the streets, or lived in places like the downtown Eastside. Some of them were students, whose only lifeline was a remote northern highway. The Yellowhead Highway, or Highway 16, is a thread that runs across Western Canada, from the prairies to the Pacific. Here in northern BC, it's the main road for big rigs and tourists heading from Prince George in the interior to Prince Rupert on the coast. It's also the only link between dozens of small communities all along the way. Since the early 1990s, at least 9 young women have disappeared or been killed along this lonely stretch of highway. All except one were Aboriginal.
Ngalawan, I'm Lynn Terbasket. Highway 29 between Chetwynd and Tumbler Ridge is closed following a road collapse. Mike Minichel of Highways...
Lynn Terbasket is a local radio host at CFNR in Terrace, and she knows only too well the realities and the dangers faced by Native women in the north.
I don't like to travel back and forth on Highway 16 unless I absolutely have to. And when I do travel, I do my best to make sure that my vehicle is in tip-top shape because I cannot afford to have a breakdown, to get stuck anywhere, traveling with a child. It's just, you know, for me, it's just too scary. So I go into debt to keep my truck up to speed or keep my vehicle in good shape. Yet at the same time, you know, I'm lucky that I have the opportunity to do that. A lot of the Native women who work or who live in this area, and then especially in the West, don't have jobs. They don't have transportation. I know a pregnant woman, all through her pregnancy, was hitchhiking on the road. She has needs. She's got to have food. She's got to have, you know, medicine or whatever. She hitchhikes. Her baby's born. She's still hitchhiking. A lot of the Native women hitchhike.
Ramona Wilson disappeared in June 1994 and was last seen hitchhiking on Highway 16 to see her boyfriend. Her mother, Mattie Wilson, waited almost a year for news of the girl her family called Muncie.
Because she was my youngest one, and she was my little baby girl. She was 16. She was just getting out into the world. And she was the love of our life. My oldest daughter, Brenda, was so ecstatic when she was born, because she finally had a little sister, because she has 4 brothers. Yeah. She was always giggling, and she was always joking with us. She kept the house just like in laughter all the time, just about, it was a happy house when she was there.
The summer days are long in the north, and Ramona disappeared on a beautiful June evening, much like this one. It was high school graduation night in a typical small town, and like all her friends, Ramona had plans. So she asked her sister Brenda for a ride.
I told her that I couldn't do it at the time, and she said she'd be in town, so not realizing that, you know, she was going to actually hitchhike, and she didn't say she was going to, so it was I have guilt and stuff because I wish I had given her a ride. So that was a Saturday, June 11th, 11 years ago. And she didn't call, so my mom started calling to different friends and stuff, and there was no response. No one had seen her, and so she put it